Good morning, traders. Welcome to today's market review. This is Fred Razak at CMTrading. Today is July 27, 2022, and today is Wednesday morning. So looking at the highlights of the day, U.S. markets sell off due to big tech. But first, looking at the major economic events of today at 8 p.m. South African time. Major news coming out of the United States. It's an FOMC interest rate decision. Very big number, happens 8 times a year. Now looking after that at 10 p.m. South Africa time, after the U.S. markets close, Facebook will be publishing its quarterly earning reports. That's an important event as well. Now, looking at the Forex symbols as they take into this big number, the euro retraces before this FOMC rate statement, so that's a big deal. Looking at the indices, the Dow Jones and the NASDAQ both sold off yesterday, but made a comeback in after-hours trading. We'll talk about that later. Looking at commodities, gold and oil steady, while Microsoft sold off the biggest yesterday, $8 down in the day. And lastly, Bitcoin finds a bottom, at least for now. So let's take a look at the markets and see what we can expect from today's trading. So here we go. We're looking at the Euro USD, and look at that. We're at the bottom of the range here after we've topped out. Now this is after or right before, actually, we're coming out the FOMC rate statement. So usually a counter move usually comes before the big number. So just be aware of that. Looking at the GBP and the Aussie, they're not there. They're on the higher side. They're on the upper range of things. So that means that they're still maintaining themselves versus the US dollar. Aussie, you could see right there, also sustaining itself. That's on the top range if we look at a 4-hour chart as well. Now jumping in commodities, gold pretty much unchanged, 17.19, not doing much. Oil, the same thing, trading at $95 right there at par. I mean, if we look at a weekly chart, you can see that the past 2 weeks, we've been really in a very, very tight range between 105 and 93-ish level, and we just look like we're consolidating here at this range. Now, jumping into the Dow Jones. Yesterday, we did rally big going into the beginning of the day, and we stood up there the whole day, 31,800-ish level on the Dow Jones. And looking at the big tech, the NASDAQ did rally to 12,570-ish level, a little bit more than that. And now it's retracing, but it didn't retrace as far as we'd expected. If you look at this, we're going back to our previous resistance, which is subsequent support right there. Look at that. That's an important area that we've come to. Now looking at Microsoft yesterday, we sold off big intraday, but we made our way back, okay, somewhere in the 264-ish level, 262-ish level. That's where we're trading right now. And that's because there's after hours trading when it comes to NASDAQ stocks. They trade after hours as well, even though you don't see it here on the graph. It will represent itself when the markets do open at 3 o'clock, South African time. So just be aware of that. Now, looking at today's session and some of these numbers, Microsoft came out with lower earnings, lower forecast. And so you wonder to yourself, why is the markets up then? If Microsoft came out with worse news, then why is the markets up? There's something called factored in. Factored in means that the news is already factored into the actual price of the stock. So the reaction to it is like, oh, it's not as bad as we thought it's going to be. And that does happen in bear markets. So just be aware that is currently the stage that we're in. Google, same thing yesterday, also sold off intraday. If you look at I can't even look at a 50-minute after this, split. You can see that a little bit better here as this continued to sell off intraday yesterday. However, like I said before, after hours it did perk up a bit. Now looking at Apple, did sell off quite aggressively. Remember, it's going to come out with quarterly earnings tomorrow. And if we look at Facebook, also selling off quite aggressively going into today's number. Okay, so just be aware of it, that Facebook is at that bottom of the range as well. So if it does break this lower range, okay, this area down here, then we could see it fall off out of bed. Okay, and that would mean somewhere that we would be somewhere in the low 100s area. Okay, look at that just debacle from the beginning of the year, 380 down to 159, almost half the price, if not more, let's just say to that. Okay, so I mean, aggressively it could go back down to the low 100s if that is the direction it continues to go. Tesla didn't do much yesterday, just up slightly in intraday trading. Did do that gap and go as we mentioned the other day on Facebook Live, and now we're tracing to its support level. Okay, so this is support. This area right here should be an area that it should bounce off of. If it doesn't, that's not good news. Okay, that means it may go lower as we go into today's session. Now, lastly, looking at Bitcoin, trading here at 21,193 as it's retracing. And so ultimately here with Bitcoin, just a very choppy kind of market. If you do get a chance to buy it here at this level, okay, I would buy it just mildly, because this would be a good area to buy it. But if it does break that 20K support, then I'd be out of it in a jiffy. So keep that in mind going into today's session. Very choppy kind of market today. It's going to be a wild day. Okay, going into these numbers and the reactionary to these numbers, you want to let the dust settle and then take a position after that. So just be aware of it. This is Fred Razak, and I wish everybody a great trading day.